Right. Gonna have a bit of a ramble, try and get my thoughts clearer. Just going out to see somebody. Rather fulfilling the stereotype. I have a bunch of bananas in a blender with me, so yeah, how's that for fulfilling the stereotype? Pretty good, really. Happens I got them for practically nothing. Well, after you, go on. I'm too slow. You're first. Yeah. So I've been thinking about this guy who I've been reading some of, and why he pisses people off. There's a reason why the guy, what's his name, professor of law, American dude, with an Italian last name, you know that guy, professor of law, animal rights, what do you call it, a guy who's interested in law reform with regard to, you know, granting non-property status to sentient beings. That's very essentially it. He's very logical. And he pisses people off because he's so critical. But I would say that being a professor of law and not being highly critical of pretty much everything by nature is weird, right? I mean, what is that? Professors at law, they're there to be critical, that's their job. And if they're going to be any good at it, chances are they're going to be critical 24/7. So, including being critical of themselves, their own feelings, you know. This guy obviously has feelings, but I think he's got kind of a Vulcan relationship with his feelings. If you're a Trekkie, you'll know what I mean. They run deep. And he certainly knows how to disregard his own feelings. And he disregards everyone else's as well, which is quite good. Considering that he's trying to do law reform, it's terribly important that this kind of stuff isn't about feelings. So a lot of these activist types who, you know, make movies and do long speeches, and they're very effective in terms of, you know, triggering people emotionally and so on, and you know, getting an emotional response and then talking logically. Yeah, they do well. I'm sure that's his name, Gary Francione. He's the guy I'm talking about. I haven't read all his books or nothing, but I've watched a couple of his speeches he's given. Part of a debate he gave, which I couldn't really watch just because the audience were getting emotional, which is stupid if you're going to have a debate. And the guy he was arguing against was emotional, which is understandable. People are allowed to be emotional. I'm not against emotion, and for most people to be emotional all the time, that's fine, you know. It's just some people, you know, when it comes to having to do with the law, as in not just operating within the law, but or enforcing it, but by changing it, designing it, then being emotional is wrong in the circumstance. And I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me, and then proceed to react emotionally to stuff which they should be reacting logically to. I don't know, it's a thing happens all the time. I've said enough about that one subject.